Tarkasangraha Parikroma, presented by Feel for Philosophy.
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
How do we build knowledge that we can actually trust? How can we be sure that our arguments are solid and that our view of the world is, accurate? These feel like really modern questions, right? But thousands of years ago in India, philosophers were already tackling this. They were trying to create a complete blueprint for reality and reason. And that blueprint is called the Tarkasangraha.
So, let's just dive right in. The author, a scholar named Annambhaṭṭa, kicks things off with this incredibly humble and inviting statement. He's not writing for some elite club of philosophers. He's creating a manual, a stepping stone for anyone who wants to learn how to think more clearly.
Okay, so we're going to approach this ancient text like it's an architect's master plan. First, we'll look at the fundamental materials the world is supposedly made of. Then, we'll check out the tools the system gives us to build strong, reliable arguments using those materials. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the text itself, then get into the 7 basic categories of, everything. We'll look at the 4 tools for gaining knowledge, do a deep dive into the logic of inference, figure out how to spot a bad argument, and then finally, we'll put it all together.
All right, first up, let's get a feel for the text that lays out this entire system. So this isn't just some random collection of thoughts, it's a sangraha, which means a meticulously organized compendium. It comes from a school of philosophy called Nyāya-Vaiśeṣika, a group of thinkers who are absolutely obsessed with logic and epistemology, which is really just a fancy way of saying the theory of knowledge. Their whole goal was to create a clear, systematic way to understand reality and our own reasoning.
Okay, so if you're building a blueprint for all of reality, you first have to know what materials you even have to work with. And that's exactly where this system begins. And here's where you really see the ambition of this project. The Tarkasangraha proposes that literally everything that exists, and I mean everything, from a rock to an idea to the color blue, can be sorted into just 7 fundamental categories. That's it, 7.
The key term here is padartha. Now, it literally translates to the meaning of a word, but a much better way to think about it is anything we can know and put a name to. These 7 padarthas are the foundational pillars of their entire map of reality.
Let's just walk through them real quick. First, you've got substance, physical stuff like earth or water. Then quality, which are properties like a color or a taste. Action is pretty straightforward, it's just movement. Now it gets a little more abstract. Generality is the shared thingness of a group, like the cowness that all cows have in common. Particularity is the opposite. It's the unique essence that makes one thing, say one atom, different from any other. Inherence is the special relationship between a thing and its quality. Like, you can't separate the redness from a red rose, right? And finally, and this is so cool, they even categorize non-existence. The absence of a pot in a room is a knowable fact. That's it. That's the complete inventory of reality, according to this system.
So, now that we have our basic materials, we need the right tools. I mean, an architect can't build anything without instruments, and a thinker can't build knowledge without some way to work with all these categories.
These tools are called the pramānas, or the valid ways of knowing things. The system says there are 4 of them. Perception, what you see and hear. Comparison, learning by analogy, like saying a wild ox is kind of like a cow. Testimony, believing a reliable expert. And then there's the big one, inference. Inference is the most powerful tool in the whole logical toolkit, and it's the one we're really going to focus on.
Okay, this is the real heart of the logical system.
Anumana, or inference, is how we draft the plans. It's how we build new, reliable knowledge from what we already know. Seriously, think about that for a second. How can you be certain of something that you can't directly see, or touch, or hear? Well, the Tarkasangraha gives us a crystal clear method.
This is the classic example that's been used for centuries to teach this. Imagine you're looking at a mountain, way off in the distance. You can't see any flames, but you do see a plume of smoke. That's your observation. Instantly, your brain connects to a universal rule you've learned from experience, what the text calls vyapti, this unbreakable link. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So by connecting your observation to that rule, you create brand new, certain knowledge. Your conclusion: that mountain has fire on it. That is a perfect logical inference. And check out how the Nyaya school structures this argument. Now, a lot of us learned Aristotle's 3-step syllogism in school, but the Nyaya system uses 5 steps to make the logic even more explicit and transparent. It doesn't just state the reason, it backs it up with a concrete example, like a kitchen hearth, to prove that universal rule is true. Only then does it apply the rule back to the mountain before stating the conclusion. Every single step is laid out to make the argument absolutely airtight. Right, so a good architect doesn't just know how to build something strong. They also know how to spot weaknesses, and the Tarkasaṅgraha provides a detailed guide for identifying the structural flaws in arguments, what we would just call logical fallacies. The term for this is hetvabhasa, and it perfectly translates to the semblance of a reason, or maybe even a fake reason. It's an argument that looks good on the surface, but when you actually inspect its structure, you find a critical flaw. And just like with reality, the system neatly classifies all these different flaws. For example, there's the irregular reason, which doesn't actually always lead to the conclusion. Then you've got the contradictory reason, which, well, it actually proves the opposite of what you're trying to argue. There's also the unproven reason, where your whole premise is just a wild assumption. This framework gives you a diagnostic toolkit to test the structural integrity of pretty much any argument you come across. Here's a brilliant, simple example from the source material that just makes this so clear. The argument seems logical at first glance, right? But the conclusion is obviously wrong. So why? It's a fallacy. The first premise, what is bought in the market is eaten, contains an unstated condition: it's eaten after being cooked. The argument is flawed because it totally ignores this crucial context. So let's put it all together. What does this finished building of thought actually look like? What the Tarkasaṅgraha gives us is a complete, interlocking system. It starts with the basic components of reality, it provides the tools to understand them, it details the methods for building sound arguments, and it even gives us the diagnostics to find the flaws and bad ones. It is a truly comprehensive approach to thinking. So the crucial takeaway is this: the Tarkasaṅgraha isn't just some historical curiosity. It is a timeless manual. This blueprint for classifying reality and structuring our thoughts offers a really powerful method for anyone who wants to build knowledge that is clear, defensible, and totally reliable. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. The philosophers behind this started with 7 categories. If you were tasked right now with creating a new blueprint for everything that exists, from physical matter to digital information, all the way to human consciousness, what would your foundational categories be? What would you even start with?
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support encourages me to create more content. Thank you.